Hey there everyone, welcome to the series Automate the Boring Stuff in Ansys Mechanical. In today's video, we will be looking at mesh data. We have already seen mesh in our previous video, and earlier we have seen geometry and geodata. This is very much similar to geodata, but in mesh data we will be focusing more on elements and nodes. We will see how to access the element by IDs or element IDs, node by IDs, and how many nodes are there in one element, how to access the body that is associated with a node or an element, and then from we will also try to make use of selection manager where you can access the body that is linked to that element or node, and then we will also revert back from mesh data to geodata, and let's get into that. Let's generate a mesh. To generate a mesh, we will access the mesh object, and then we will generate mesh. So mesh object can be accessed by model.mesh, and from here we will just go to generate mesh. It's a function. So you will see mesh is getting generated, and to clear the mesh you can go through the same and just type clear generated data. So we won't do that. Let's skip this. Now coming to accessing mesh data, there are two ways to access as far as I know. First is the entry point model. So it will be model dot analysis. This is plural, and you will see there is only one analysis, which is static structural A5 at this point of time. So mesh data are all associated with analysis. Similar, we have also seen in our previous geodata video where we access geodata through analysis. So it's the same way. So let's access the first index, which is 0, the first analysis, that is the only available analysis, and from there we will just type mesh data. You will see it's a mesh wrapper. Similarly, in our geodata we have seen geometry wrapper. In that geometry wrapper, if you remember, we had assembly wrapper, part wrapper, body wrapper, face wrapper, edge wrapper. Similarly, here in mesh, under the mesh wrapper, uh, we will have assembly wrapper, sorry, not assembly wrapper, we will have an element wrapper and a node wrapper. So this, if we go to cursor mode element, you will see you can select all this element. You can get the area, volume, not area, sorry, area of the faces, volume, location. And similarly, if you go to cursor mode of node, you can just choose all this. You can get the location, IDs, and also revert back. Like if you know the ID, you can select this nodes or elements. So let's go one by one. First, let's assign this variable to some, sorry, assign this object to some variable. I will call it as MD. This is our mesh data. So here, uh, let's go through a couple of um, object under this class, under this class mesh data. So first one, let's go through, which is important. Elements. So if you see, it will give lot of element wrapper. As I said, first one is mesh wrapper. Under this we have all the element wrapper. We don't want everything, so these are the element wrapper classes. But if you want to just get the IDs, so I think there should be element IDs. Yeah, we have it. So you will see all these elements are there. You can go choose this element, put it into a selection manager, selection info. I will show you that, and then you can select those element directly from the command window or this console. So let's go through other properties of this mesh data MD dot. You can also go through element count. So you will see 483 elements are there, and if you go to mesh and if you go to statistics, you will see 483 elements are there. Similarly, you can also go to md dot node count. So you will see 2652. This is matching with 2652, and then similarly you can get node IDs as well. So it will be node IDs. So you will get the list of all uh, node IDs. And similarly, you can access a particular element by ID. For example, if I go to cursor mode, we can type Control L as well. So if I select this, you will see at the bottom that this ID is 49. Let's choose this 49. There are a couple of ways to do that. One is uh, go to md.element id pass. It says it should be integer. You cannot select multiple element by ID because it's singular ID. So it says integer element within this bracket, and it returns an element. So if I type 49, you will get the exact same whichever is belonging to this element, right? 49, it will be chosen. So if you want to select it, then you have to go through selection manager. I will come to that in a minute. And similarly, for example, I have a node. Let's say uh, I think it was, let's remember the nodes, control N and L. So let's click on control N, and if I select this, you will see the ID is 1466. How do I choose the element which is associated with this node? So you can do md dot node. This is node IDs from, no, this is element ID from node IDs. So if I select, if I pass the node ID, you will see this also takes an integer and it gives list of integer. Why? Because let's say I have one node. This node, let's say this one. This node is associated with two elements on the left and right side, right? So it will return a list of both these IDs. So if I pass, what was that? This ID is 305. If I pass, you will see uh, it says, I think there is some issue. Let's pass it through integer. Yeah. So let's go back to what it was telling. It says I enumerable. Okay, you have a bracket here, then it's a square bracket, so you have to pass integer. But if you go to the previous one, so this was 305. So we got two elements. So let's check it, 196 and 147. If I select control L, if I select this 196, correct, the right one is 147. So we are good. This is working. So if you remember this one, and if I show what kind of argument it takes, I was telling it takes only integer. Yeah, it just says integer element. It doesn't show any square bracket or something. So that also you need to keep in mind. So if I send 49, you will get that element. Now similarly, if you go back to all the elements, all the nodes that are associated with element, for example, this one, this is element number 49. I can just type md dot node IDs from element ID, and if I see, this also takes list of integer, so I will just pass 49, and you will see all the nodes that are linked to this IDs. Okay, so let's focus on this 49 element and all the nodes that are associated with this. So how do we do that? So let's access this element into a variable called as e1. So I will just type, I will just go through this code, and let me clear it, and here I will pass e1. E1 is our first element. So right now e1 is assigned, which is also an element. This is the highlighted one. I will show you how to highlight it from element ID. Right now I have selected it manually. From here, let's see what are the various properties associated with this. You can get area, centroid. Then, okay, there are two things. I will come to the node of this element later. You will have dimension as well. It says 3 dimension. What else you have? What kind of type it is? Then volume of it, and nodes. Okay, let's come to nodes and corner nodes. First is nodes. Nodes are like, for example, this is a hexagonal element, right? So you will have 4 plus 4, 8 corner nodes. Remember, these are corner nodes. And if you have meshed it using quadratic mesh, so that means that you have a mid-side nodes. So in that case, what will happen is, instead of 8, it will say, instead of 8 corner nodes, it will say 8 uh, 8 nodes. Okay, sorry, 20 nodes. Instead of 8 corner nodes, it will tell you 20 nodes. So let's see that. So if I just type corner node count, you will see 8, because a hexagon has 8 nodes or corners. But if I uh, just type node count, so this will be 20. So you can access it by nodes dot count. Okay, so 20. So I think corner node or corner node, sorry, like we had this corner node count, right? We don't have nodes count. Let's check it. if we can directly access it. E1 dot nodes count. No, it's not available. Even node count is also not available. So you can go through e1 dot nodes dot count, and similarly you can just type e1 dot corner nodes dot count. So this is much easier and also more readable, right? So you will have 8 and 20. So these are the two differences. I will show you how to select those 8 and 20 just to visualize. So let's go back to our selection manager. So if you remember, selection manager can be accessed by ext API our entry point dot selection manager. Let me assign this to some variable sm. Then from sm we will create a selection info. So it will be sm dot create selection info, and then we have a selection type enum. Just copy it. Now you remember in our previous geodata or geometry or selection manager videos we were using geometry entities. Here you have to use mesh element or mesh node. So you need to be careful what you are choosing. Let's say you are assigning node IDs into this selection info. Some other element will be selected. You won't be aware of that. I will just show you that. First go through this mesh element and I will just assign it to a variable called as mesh selection info, mcell info. Okay. Now we have mcell info, and if I check the IDs, ID is its own ID, and IDs are like what it contains. So if you remember my previous videos, IDs is not a list, even though it's looking like a list. But if you just type get type, you will see it's a list, but I mean, you will say it's a selection info. It's not a list, but mcellinfo.ids is a list, so you can assign that list into this. So as you know, mcellinfo is related to mesh element, and we were already working on mesh element number 49. Let's choose that. So I will just type mcellinfo.ids is equal to mm, uh, you can it needs to be a list, right? So you can just pass 49. This is one way. The another way is, so if I just to cross check, yes, 49 is assigned. The another way is, if you remember, we had chosen e1, which is our um, element number 49 itself. So I can just type e1.id. Okay, there is one more way. You can go like we had mesh data, right? Mesh data dot element IDs, but here problem is all the elements will be selected. I just want 49 to be selected, so I will keep only 49. So if I cross check, it is coming correct. So mcell info, right? Mcell info is 49, so I will unselect it. Now what I will do, I will go to the selection manager dot, I have a new selection here, and I need to pass I selection info. Here I will just type I cell info, and if I enter, you will see this element is selected. Now if you remember e1 dot nodes node IDs, you will see these are all the 8 nodes of an hexagon. But if I type e1 dot corner nodes IDs, you will see only 8. Sorry, node IDs were the including the mid side nodes, and corner nodes were 8 corners of an hexagon or any element. Can be pyramidal or whatever mesh shapes we have in our Ansys, right? It's like that. So all the corner nodes. Now let me choose all these corner node IDs into M selection info. Just to warn you that M selection is for uh, elements. Okay, so M cell info info dot is an init type selection type. Yeah. So you remember this is mesh element. It's not mesh nodes. So if I assign node IDs into this M selection info, let's see what kind of error you can get. So I already had mcell info and dot IDs is equal to, and this is already returning a list. So I will just pass this, and if I type mcell info, you will see all this list. I mean the list with this node ID is getting assigned to a um, mesh element selection info, which is wrong. So what happens is, let's say I want to rerun this you will see instead of selecting all the nodes of this element, something else will be selected. So that's why I wanted to show you that. And you will see something else are chosen. So you need to be careful when you're passing this IDs into what kind of selection type. So let's create one more variable which will be sm dot create selection info, and then here we will type nodes dot mesh nodes. Okay, and variable name will be n cell info. This stands for nodes. In this n cell here, I will just copy it, and here I will just pass n. Okay, now n cell info is this 8 IDs. These are nodes. Let me clear it. So here I will just type sm dot create selection and cell info. Clear. Okay, sorry, it's not clear selection, it's new selection. You will see 8 corner nodes are chosen. Okay, so these were the corner nodes. Let me go back to let me assign this ncell info dot IDs. Instead of corner nodes, I will just pass node IDs. Okay, and then if I rerun this again, before rerunning, let me clear the screen. And if I run this, okay, my bad, it's not clear select, it's new selection. You will see 20 nodes are chosen. So these things you need to be careful what kind of selection info you are choosing and what kind of IDs you are selecting. Now let me go back to E1. We had all the, this was element number 49, right? So here E1 dot nodes, you will get 20 nodes. Let me select any one. So I will access the first index. Let me see what sorry, I need to assign it to it n1. So n1 dot id, I have chosen 186. I mean the the node with ID 186. So let's go through what are the things you can access from n1. Same thing. You have you have ID, then XYZ location, and column connected element. Okay. So if I go to connected element, you will see this ID which was 196. I don't know which one it is. Maybe we can just type n cell info dot IDs is equal to, let's check what is the, it's 186. So 186, let's choose that and see why so many counts connected elements are coming. So 186, and to select I will just type sm dot new selection and cell info. You will see this is the ID. Of course this will be connected with many elements, so hopefully, so what you can do is element IDs. So you will see 1 2 3 6 8 elements are counted. So you can expect definitely this node is connected with 8 elements. So what you can do, if you want to do that, you can just go to mcellinfo dot IDs as n1 dot connected element IDs. And if I run this selection manager once again, instead of n cell, I will type m cell, and if I do, you will get all these 8 elements. This is as expected, right? Let's see what else we have in node element. You have connected element ID. We have seen elements. These are the element object. These are the IDs. It will return a list, and then geo entity IDs. So I believe, so this geo entity IDs are related to geometry wrapper. Okay, we will go to that later. So we have two things, E1 and N1. So you have element wrapper and node wrapper. How to go to that body which is associated with N1? So you can go through get body. So it will be N1 dot This is hidden actually, so you can type e1 dot get body. You will see you got the body wrapper, and I have already covered how to go back from body wrapper to get body. So you can use this id itself. For example, you have get body, right? Dot id, you have 6. So let's create a cell info, which will be sm dot create selection info, and here you have to type a enum dot geometry entities, and here I will just pass cell info dot ids as e1 dot geobody dot id, so it should be a list I'm passing directly. And if I do sm dot new selection and then pass cell info, you will see this body is selected. So this is one way to go from an element to body. I have shown you how to select as well. Similarly, you can go for n1, so it will be n1 dot, it's a hidden property, it will not come directly. So get body, here also you saw the body wrapper. Just to show you this one, let's go to control n and select this. So you see id is 1982, right? You can use the same because both are body wrappers. So I will just type 1982 here, 1982. Okay, or you can just type this also directly, n1 node, we are going from nodes, it's the same thing, dot id. So here I will just run this again. Okay, so this is okay, my bad, because node was something else, right? We were using n1 as element within this body, so it's not correct. So this was correct only. No, this is not correct because 1982 is uh, element. So what you can do, you can go to MeshData 1982. Just remember that. I will type it here 1982. So you can go to MeshData dot node by ID. It says 1982. It's written in your node, correct? So instead of n1, I will pass n2. Now I will just say selection info dot IDs. We have to do a list and then n2 hidden property get body dot id. Now it will come correct. So selection manager dot new selection cell info. So now this cylinder body should be chosen. Let's check it out, and we are good. So these were a couple of ways how to go from mesh data to geo data or geometry. Now, how when this will be useful? For example, you mm, you get an error when you have not defined proper context. You remember this will have infinite displacement, this will be flying out, and this solved out file will be telling which node element is having very large displacement more than the limit. In that case, what we can do is, you can read the solved out file, you can read that node id. From node id we will go to the we will go to the body. From the body we will get a name, and the name also we can send through an email telling that this body is flying out, you need to check your analysis, instead of waiting 1 day or 2 day for the analysis to finish. Or let's say you are out of office and you have given a night run or weekend run and you see it failed in Saturday itself. So in these scenarios you can just send out an email to entire distribution list in your team of your team, and then you can get what body is flying out. Any one of your team member can of course can go to the office and make the necessary changes. So these were couple of things I had to cover in mesh data. I hope you enjoyed this video. If this video is useful, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.